Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Building Modular with Jennifer and Dave Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us today. At Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the process that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, to building science, building codes, to the tech used to build it better. And today is no different. So we're going to welcome Ryan Wallace from the Solar Village and the Solar Home Factory on. He is building modular using SIPS panels and high energy efficient net zero homes. How excited is this?
Yeah,
I keep looking at you. I want you to jump in.
I know. Well, it's hard to get a word in with you, but yeah, this is super, right? We're talking about prefab living in net zero homes, right? Off the grid homes. And we'll be talking about ADUs and it's good stuff. Ryan's on location and we can't wait to bring him in.
He is on location. So we're going to have a live walkthrough of one of their projects that they've already built. We're going to talk about the community and we're going to talk about what's making them different from everybody else and talk about their success a little bit. And maybe we'll even talk about a hydraulic line that blew all over the place this morning. Who knows?
No, that never happens.
In construction. So, well, listen, why don't we bring Ryan on and say hello? Well, you know what? First, Jen, we'll be live on location. Let's put it out there real quick.
Oh, yeah. December
1st and December 2nd, we will be in the Hudson Valley, New York with Unity Homes and Bensonwood live streaming their set. 2 days in a row we'll be there. So look for us on December 1st and December 2nd. We're going to come live to you in the morning, 10 a.m. And I think probably 4 p.m. both days in morning and afternoon. So you can see the progress made and how spectacular that is. So there you have it. Jen, let's bring Ryan on. Let me pull this banner down and bring Mr. Ryan Wallace in. What's happening, Ryan?
Thanks for having me.
It's great. It's so great. You know, as we were chatting about before, you're a hard man to find.
Well, I bet you my crew and family would say they'd wish they could find me less. So it balances out.
Well, I think there's a whole lot of enthusiasts out there who wish they could find you more and wish that you were doing what you're doing in places outside of the Finger Lake region.
Well, I appreciate that. It's, the great thing is, though, is through programs like yours, you definitely start getting connected to people who are doing a lot of these same great things. Seeing Bill last week out there in PA, that was, it was really cool to just see, a lot of like-minded people coming to a lot of the same conclusions when it comes to modular assembly and energy efficiency.
Yeah, no, for sure. But you guys are even doing it further than that. I mean, you have your own factory, you're doing modular construction, but you're doing a hybrid approach that isn't, being done really in too many places. And that is you're using SIPS panels to build your modulars off-site and then bringing them on location. So we'll wait to jump in that when you get inside. Talk to us a little bit more about where you're standing right now.
Yeah, so right now I'm standing at the Lake Tunnel Solar Village. This is a 17-home single-family subdivision in Geneva, New York. Geneva is at the top of Seneca Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes in the Finger Lakes wine region. It's a beautiful area. Right on the other side of that road, actually, is Seneca Lake, and the development gets its name from that pedestrian tunnel that connects through to the lake there. So this was, a pretty, relegated, unused piece of city property, about 1.7 acres, and we made it into a very dense development. We developed about every square inch of the development that wasn't allocated to stormwater management, and because that's a big concern, is making sure in development that when you add impervious surface, that the runoff, which is literally going to the lake right over on the other side of the road, is clean and clear. So this development, which I'm staying in front of, these are 4 1,000 square foot homes. They're 2-story units, upstairs, downstairs, and so there's four homes right here. And today I'll be taking you through the home of John Gorman and Joanne Potter, who are nice enough to called them up a few minutes ago and said, quick, what's your door code? They're nice
So you
enough
can get in. I love it.
Well, I mean, here's a great example of, a builder-client relationship that's strong. So, kudos to you for having that.
We have amazing buyers down here. We call, there's a group of them we call the early adopters. And some of these folks, people ask how we did this. The first answer is we're too stupid to know we're crazy. For everything that we tried to do over the past couple of years. And secondly, and most importantly, is we had some really outstanding buyers, Gormans and Potters, the Glatleys, the Rules, and David and Klein and Janine. These are people who early on said, we'll put down large deposits before you even built your factory. And that was what really got the ball rolling, and we're just we're so happy to have them involved in this journey. So
yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit about the property right there. So you talked a little bit about the acreage. I mean, you got this beautiful walking path. You got the tunnel that leads to the lake, and then we have the buildings. Maybe you can walk us through some of the aesthetics and the materials used on the exterior.
Our homes in this version were definitely accused of being a little blocky. We really embraced the modular nature. These were not meant to be traditional, gable roof homes. They were meant to, in many ways, accent the modularity of the homes. When you look back at the 2-story units here, each of the upstairs unit is a different color in the siding. This is a Quality Edge True Steel siding. It's a steel siding product. It's meant to look like wood. But even the seams, we accented the seams of the modules rather than trying to hide them. And I apologize, I'm a terrible camera person.
Doing great.
And a lot of that was to really advertise to the people driving by and the people who come into the development that this wasn't your typical stick frame construction. Something different's going on here. So SIP walls, the whole units were built in the factory, trucked to site, including all the mechanical and solar. The thing that I think we do best is we install the solar and the heating systems and the plumbing and electrical in factory. And that solar aspect in factory, we've been able to hit some installation metrics that I think are pretty game changing in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to dive into that, especially when you show us some of the equipment inside. But you were saying that the solar arrays were installed at the factory, and that's, right. Yeah. I mean, that's a game changer by itself.
Yeah, and that's so that's my background. I came from a career of working in solar installation, about 400 solar projects, but was always building in my off time and decided to kind of flip that equation. So the solar is something that I really wanted to show that we could install the solar and the heat pumps and get that cost per square foot price point still, right, at a very reasonable level. And I think we've shown that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into some of those facts and figures as well. But, when you were building, were you always building using modular construction?
So, no, we were doing mainly renovations. Our past building experience was a lot of renovating large structures, big Victorian homes, into smaller condominiums. And that really gave us a love for the small spaces. So all of our homes are about 1,000 square foot or less. And we put a lot of effort into the design to make those small spaces really feel bigger and really efficient. But what I have to credit Energy Panel Systems, our SIP manufacturer out of Iowa, their representatives and their leadership really, they they stayed with us and said, no, you got to do these with SIPs. And we had dreamed of doing modular all the way back to 2005. But, really it took, like I said, a little bit of craziness to say, hey, let's build a factory and let's try it.
Well, that's the secret to, the success of so many entrepreneurial ideas, that little bit crazy, a little bit passion.
Yeah. I say it all the time. You have to be crazy to want to have a factory, right?
You do. But
it's with the people and the process, it's a lot of responsibility, and you guys are being successful at it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing for us was, really, I hate to say keep being the same horse, but having the customers who are willing to roll with the punches with us as we refine that process. It was more than a few times that we'd call them up in the first few homes and said, it'd make a lot more sense as we dive into this, as we're actually building the home, to move the heat pump here, or to change how we're doing fresh air management, and they rolled with those punches. Whereas, a lot of customers might look at that with alarm bells and say, well, do these guys know what they're doing? We came in from a place of love, just saying, hey, we want to make sure that these designs are well thought through, and we can't stand on ego and say, well, we're just going to build it to plan and stick to it, even though if we saw something, that needed to be improved.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, Ryan, why don't we go inside? It's probably a little warmer in there for you. And
I'm getting a little chattery out here. So.
Yeah. And let's start taking a look at the inside of this and walking through, and let's talk about the energy efficiencies. Some of the things you were talking about, but that's a beautiful entrance.
Yeah. So this is the downstairs of number 30. And just kind of staying back here first to start with, the geek part of it, the SIP wall structure. And then this is Coltech triple pane windows. We're a big fan of Coltech. Really love the product, and have tried a few different products and have been really, really happy with the Coltech. In here we've got a natural wood flooring, 10-foot ceilings, or 9-foot ceilings, smooth drywall finish, recessed lighting, and all brushed nickel hardware and finishes. Sure. Our style definitely leans contemporary, but we still have a few traditional streaks, just to keep it from getting too cold.
Right.
And then we have to credit the homeowners too, who have really embraced, the concept of having, smaller furniture, not trying to pack a ton of stuff into the space. They have a very comfortable sitting space, that they still separate, with furniture to kind of their place where you drop shoes and umbrellas and that sort of thing. And then, a big part of it too is not skimping on cabinetry and storage. So, you've got already a full-size kitchen with island, but then coming across to the other side, having just lots and lots of pantry space. And my philosophy in small spaces is have lots of surface area and have lots of storage space, because nothing makes a small space feel small like clutter.
Yeah, for sure. So you were saying that this is not the primary residence for the homeowners. So not sure if they've been there recently, but it gets pretty cold up there in the Finger Lakes. How does it feel inside right now?
So right now, temperature set. Our buyer here is a man of science, so he's got it set to Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So They're set to 25. We recommend to the homeowners that they just set it between 68 and 72 and just leave it be. There's zero reason to turn the units off. The home is designed to maintain a steady level of comfort. And that's part of the educational process with the homeowners is they actually think they want to be energy efficient. And so they're turning everything off. We're telling them, no, just set it and forget it, for those Ronco rotisserie fans out there. So,
right. Well, that's why it's smart technology, right? You can do that.
Yeah, and the homes from the steel exterior, there's no paint, no painted wood on the exterior. It's all PVC or metal. And the idea is definitely to minimize that maintenance. You close the door, you leave, and you come back a few months later, and it's as you left it.
Right. Walk me through the construction process a little bit, Ryan. So you're using SIP panels. How are you tying everything to the piers, the foundation, however these are sitting, right? Because is it a SIP panel that has a wood plate underneath it, and you're pulling all that down? But how do you tie this all together with SIP panels and modular construction?
So we went through a few variations. So on this site, in many ways, it was a test case for different foundation methods, and different ways of doing the floor box. So this particular home is sitting on a treated 2x12 box that we built, obviously in factory, and built the SIPs on top of that. So you've got I'm going to come outside here just to help illustrate that. But so you've got a 12, a 12-inch or a 2x12 floor system where the rim boards are treated 2x12s. And the reason for that is that box is sitting directly on metal helical piers. So the structure, the foundation for this home is just screw piers. We used a system from Pier Tech out of Missouri. So the average pier depth here is about 28 feet, driven with just a rotary head on a mini excavator. So you do that plate, you do basically a rim board plate that bolts to that those piers. And then when we set the box down, we had standard, Simpson ties that would attach those, the box to that bottom plate. The neighboring residence over there, that is the gray and green and red there. That is a more traditional poured foundation with a crawl space, and this site, being at the north end of the lake, is basically a lot of silt and sand. And so even though that's on a traditional foundation, that is also sitting on 20 to 30 feet of piers. And that is just because of geotechnical concerns of the site.
Yeah.
But really, so that's kind of what made us try this other method. We said, well, could we just delete all that concrete since those piers are doing most of the work? The answer was yes and no. We had to do a lot more piers. And generally, while the pier system has been good and has its applications, we've moved to a frost protected floating slab.
Right. Well, hey, listen, I'm sure George Ryman's out there today. So George, you might want to introduce yourself to Ryan with the system you guys are using. I don't know if it works with the types of soils or what have you, but listen, so you went on piers and versus like a grade beam system solely just because of the geotech, and was it a frost thing as well?
Yep, geotech, a little bit of frost, although we've been able to manage, like on the floating slabs, we've been able to manage that, with good drain tile and sidewall and extended, insulation around the perimeter. And so that's worked out really well. And where we want to head to, frankly, is, and that's where this development has worked really well, is we've tried so many different ways of installing these modules that as we move more into what we call our solar pod product, the ADU product, we can make really solid recommendations for foundation systems and how local builders would adapt or put our product in on site, differing terrains and soils. So part of this I can't leave away is some of the geeky aspects. The heat pump system. So that is a basically 2.5 ton heat pump system from GREE. That is a low ambient operating heat pump. So that'll work down to -17 degrees Fahrenheit. Right. And that goes to one head up downstairs and one head upstairs. And the head upstairs, then we use an inline fan to distribute that air through the other bedrooms. And then we have, of course, our ERV system to do fresh air exchange.
Sure.
And that runs obviously continuously. And in fact, what we've done is put that ERV on a breaker, but we did have it on a switch. People are turning it off, so now it's just on a breaker.
Yeah. No, it makes more sense for sure.
Yeah. So you know what? Before we get into more questions, or I should say, before we get into more of our questions, why don't we say hello to some of the folks that are joining us today? And there's a lot of comments and questions that are coming your way from the audience, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, of course, George Ryman. There he is. That's the guy I said you should talk to. Shorefoot Foundations in Phoenix, Arizona. I was upselling you a little bit, George, there. I always appreciate your support. But I think this might be a good application for you guys. So something to consider. Hey, look at that. We got Doug Pill. Good morning, you two. Do you know Doug Pill by chance?
I do not. Well, some of these people, like I said, I'm terrible at getting back to people. So I apologize if any of you have reached out to me before.
Well, consider this your broadcast hello to everybody.
Yeah, this is the broadcast.
I'm getting back to you now.
Doug is the CEO of Prefab Logic. So,
great.
We do a lot of stuff out with some of the newer factories, Audible, going around. Yep.
We had actually, Doug, I take it back. We had talked with Prefab Logic a bit during the early design of our factory. And while we ended up not building the full-size factory, they had given us a lot of early stage advice there. So really, really knowledgeable guys. So I can plug them.
Excellent.
Yeah. Doug is knowledgeable, isn't he? I know. More stuff to come with Doug in the future too. It's going to be exciting. All right, Dr. Benaji Amar. I hope I'm saying that right. I know I said it before. Good evening from the Aberdeen, UK. Love it. You may have heard of this guy before. Bill Spone. Hey, Ryan, Jennifer, and Dave. Hey, Bill. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Keep going down the line. Craig Campbell. Hey. What's happening, Craig? He says SIPS is the future.
Right.
All right. Well, hey, listen to this. You have Greg Ugaldi, the immediate past chairman of the NAHB. This is the same guy that walks in and updates the president. He's asking sales price for the 1,000 square foot.
Great question. So right now, what we're selling these for is about $240 a square foot. Obviously that can vary greatly on finish, but at $240 a square foot, that's LVP floors, granite countertops, are pretty much our standard finish, which we think is pretty good. And that includes, that number's a little skewed in the low side because here that actually includes about $30 a square foot of site development cost, which currently we're not really marking up. After all the time I've been spending in the field, I might have to start doing that. But
well, just because we get this question all the time, right? Yeah. It's so hard to answer cost per square foot, because everything is so different. There's so many variables, and just from your business model, you are the factory, you are the general contractor, and you're providing the modules, the home, you're setting them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So
Like I said, we're 3 ways crazy, or 3 ways stupid. Interest, just if I can go down memory lane really briefly with you. It was June 21st of 2018, which happens to be summer solstice, which is an important day in the solar industry, and happens to be my birthday, which is an important day to me, at least sometimes. And that day we broke ground on the factory, and we broke ground on this site, and we released the first set of engineered prints for our first product. So in the 6 months leading up to there, we designed a factory. We worked with a group called Bergman and Associates, who's a engineering firm up here in the Northeast, who's a fantastic group. Robert Switala, I got to give a shout out to him, and Dan Christopher did a lot of the work on that. And what was really just crazy is that, here we are, we go from one groundbreaking over to the other groundbreaking. And there was part of me where I was like, oh, good Lord, what am I doing? But the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of great modular manufacturers out there, but we wanted to put that emphasis on the solar and the heat pumps, and we wanted to do the SIPs. And maybe that's just being demanding, but we could not find a group who could do those things, all 3 of those things in factory. And so we said, we'll do it ourselves. So we built a little 7,000 square foot factory where we could basically crib build 3 modules at a time. Would have been nice if we could do 4 at a time. Future note, when you're building a structure like this, that's actually 4 modules. And so we dove into the site development, learned how to run iron water pipe, how to run sanitary set manholes, do stormwater. Meanwhile, we're learning how to run a factory, and it was probably one thing too many, maybe 2. But what was really great about it is now we can just speak with tremendous authority when we're talking with builders, and they say, well, I want to do a little development of these small homes for a vacation rental village in the Hudson Valley, or I want to do a traditional housing development. We can dive right into those site development questions and make sure that that they're thinking down a line that's compatible with with our product.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, again, part of the outreach that this show is designed to do is find qualified partners who can help you scale. And obviously there's a desire across our nation, to repeat this. So, that's one of the things we like to offer our community is just, yes, you did bite off a lot. You're probably wondering how you're going to swallow this big elephant every single day.
He has less hair than me. That's why he wears a helmet. I see, told you.
But this is what this is all about, So, I love it. You're taking an aggressive approach that is fueled by passion and a client base that is strong. So it's really terrific.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, because it's good to hear, because it is challenging. I mean, you're trying to convince, a financial industry out there that is, I don't want to say skeptical, but it's just, there isn't established process, even for the modular side, getting draw schedules that match, a modular construction schedule is challenging. And it's finding ways of navigating that with financial partners. But, these kinds of shows, and the more this gets out there, the easier that'll become, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think on the financial side, after the show, we'll give you some names there that do this all the time. You may even know some of them. But let me ask you, jumping with both feet, I think it's the only way to go in a lot of, instances, even though it causes health issues and hair loss. But I also think that, with that, doing all of this stuff, tell us some of the trials and tribulations of doing this, right? SIPs, in transportation and modules. What did you learn? I mean, there had to have been some hiccups, I would imagine, and some, maybe we got to do it this way moments. Was there anything that you learned that you want to share with us?
So a couple things. I think we overthought the crib building process. We were so worried about trying to make a true factory process that we sometimes didn't focus enough on just getting the structures built. I mean, there's two stages to modular construction, right? Or two. Let me rephrase that. There's two layers of growth in a manufacturing operation. And what we did was crib building in a controlled environment, and there was huge advantages. We weren't subject to the weather. We were able to put QA processes in place that really checked the quality of the homes before they left. But it wasn't an assembly line. There was no lean manufacturing process involved. And that's really the next step, right? That's when you take the positive aspects of indoor construction and you add a true manufacturing aspect to it. Right. And that's really the next step. And for us, that was a very aha. We were kind of full of ourselves thinking, we're manufacturers, and we learned that, we were not building the core structure faster than we could do on site because we were crib building.
Right.
What we were able to do in that factory is we were able to get the cost of the renewables and the heat pump systems and all of those to a much, much more manageable price point, to where our homeowners did not feel like they were paying a premium for a green product. They were, if you talk to many of them, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say they feel like, they got what they paid for and more in the quality of the home, and not even factoring in. I mean, some of them almost had to be reminded that they weren't going to have a heating bill after they moved in. And
yeah,
it wasn't.
I mean, that's what this is all about, right? I mean, people are not looking for an itemized price list of what every nail, every, floorboard costs. They are coming to you for a healthy, comfortable, durable, resilient home. And, attached to that is your cost. What that combination of things that goes into that is really what makes you different and sets you apart. Plus your customer service, right?
Well, and that's
he knows every customer by name. Didn't you hear him in the beginning? He just named them all off.
Well, and it also helps. I have to give credit to my mother, Marita Wallace, and my wife, Tracy Wallace. We're a family-owned company, and along with Mark Rodriguez, who's our VP of construction and our architect. The four of us, are from the beginning, we're kind of in this deep, and since we've had some really great crew with Kate and Angela and Friend and our and Ashley, our construction and our office leadership. These people really care about the people who are going to be taking these homes. They know them. They're working with them on a regular basis. We're building one last home here, putting in one last home, and another early adopter, Heather and Dawn Plano. They are, some builders might say, oh, well, here comes the owners again. Some builders even say, you can't even come into the home unless it's a preset date, and beyond safety considerations, we obviously take that, seriously, but we really embrace the customer feedback. It's not always positive. Sometimes they're saying, what is this about? And we look at it. If we don't have a good answer, we got to fix it.
Right.
Sure.
And that's all great learning stuff. And we catalog it. We have copious Google Sheets in our system of data, not just of how the homes perform, but also those customer feedback points, and that's been just a great value to this first development. So.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's going to get on his soapbox now as it comes to that.
Checklists and coordination. You got to have those Google Sheets. Like,
yeah, well, it's and that's something that I'm gonna make good use of the Gorman's fine furniture here.
Yeah, that's actually look at that.
I love it.
Yeah, so as you're comfortably sitting there, maybe you can tell us a little bit more, in terms of what you do include and how you achieve that airtightness and that building envelope. Maybe you can kind of walk us through the size of these modules and how you really insulate them for airtightness.
Yeah.
Sure.
And before you start that, everybody, I mean, there's a lot more comments and questions. So we're going to come to all of that, but we want to learn more about the structure first. But there's a lot of questions on how you're doing the solar and some other things in the comment section. So we're going to hop into that. So just hang tight. Ryan, the chair is yours.
Well, I'll keep moving. I've had my.
Oh, you're good. Sit.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going to talk floor box here or dimensions, I want to give you a good view. So this is a 16-foot box, so 16-foot travel width, which means that in reality, we pull that in to about 15.7 to deal with, so that we don't have any vents or anything overhang that 16-foot width. That does mean that it's a special permit for transport with, a pilot and a lead and a follow vehicle. I will tell you that just to get a feel of how involved we are, we hired a fantastic group that transports modules, but they were hiring pilot cars. And I couldn't believe what these pilot car drivers got paid for, you have to know that this development is 1.2 miles from our factory. And I was like, $500 to drive 1.2 miles. I'll get my pilot's license. So I am a modular pilot car certified driver. So
Good. We'll call you up when we need you.
That's right. So we transport these over here, 16-foot wide. The box with floor box and ceiling framing is coming in at about 11 foot. And this particular one, this particular home is 38. This box is 38 feet long. Again, short distance, so we weren't doubling them up on a trailer or anything like that. We certainly could have. And so what this gives us with the SIP walls being 6.5 inches of thickness, we're at about, I think, a 14.8 usable interior space. This is a 2-story home, so we've got the staircase taking up part of that interior width. So we did try to make use of that space and put a little half bath here under the staircase, and that was a nice little added feature. This home, for being only 1,000 square foot, is 2 bedroom, 2 full bathrooms, and a half bath downstairs. So it's maybe a little excessive on the bathrooms. Learning experience for us, certainly. Learning to have those quality control points where the homes came together, and making sure that that you're hitting all those key junction points at the staircases and at the outside perimeter. So,
I love those windows.
Ryan, let me ask you a question. What is the average weight of your modules using SIPs?
I think the crane clocked us in at 28.4 to 32.3. I think was kind of our range.
Oh, really? 28,000 to 32,000 per box, or just the kitchen box?
Per box. Mm-hmm. So, you're right. Actually for ours, the upstairs box was more, because of the roof SIP and the solar and the mechanical units. On the other homes, we actually had the modules sitting in the yard, fully operational, running with power and heat, because those boxes, we have the outdoor unit, the heat pump, actually mounted on the exterior.
Did you have the metal siding attached as well already?
Yes. So all the siding was done in factory. The only thing we did on site was the PVC board that covers up the seam. Air tightness. What's remarkable is with the SIP system, when you follow the SIP manufacturer instructions, and you do that nice triple bead of SIP seal, you get magnificent air infiltration right off the bat, or lack of air infiltration. So I love these windows here. These are
Beautiful.
These 3 segment windows, triple pane windows, and actually I might, if I'm qualified to operate this, maybe give you a little overview of the rest of the development.
Oh yeah, let me blow up. So everybody, if you're just joining us right now, we are talking with Ryan Wallace, and we are in a modular home that is made with SIP panels. So it's a hybrid modular approach compared to most. Super energy efficient. And Ryan was just showing us a view of the solar village. So we have a lot of people have been jumping in and out. So I wanted to let everybody know what's going on. So this is not your typical modular home. This is a step up.
Correct. So this is so in these homes out here, what you have is 17 homes. And just to kind of dive, detract from the modular detail for a second, just to dive into the net zero aspect. So the solar is installed on these modules in factory. And what you see on the roof there is 10 kilowatts or 10,000 watts of solar. And the solar production from these homes, even in a fairly flat roof installation in New York, which you can see is not exceptionally sunny at the moment. Even with all that, our annual production is a little over 10,000 kilowatt hours a year. So 10,000 kilowatt hour a year is our energy budget to do with what we will. So in that, you've got to heat the place, you got to heat the hot water, you got to deal with your plug loads, refrigerator, and anything else that uses electricity. Of course, we're fully electric. There's no natural gas in the entire development at all. At least connected to the homes. There's a natural gas pipeline, coincidentally, that actually runs along the development, and that's a whole other story. But so within that 10,000 kilowatt hour budget, you've got to do all those things. And to be honest with you, I'd be lying to say I wasn't a little nervous that once we got into these homes and people live in their homes differently, that we would be able to stay within that budget. All the research and the data analysis. We work with a great firm called Sustainable Comfort that does all of our HERS ratings. These homes have a HERS rating before the solar of, I'm going to get this wrong, it's like 40, 39, something like that. The guys at Sustainable Comfort are cringing right now. So I'm probably voting. And so, but what it comes down to, you can talk about blower door testing and air infiltration and all that stuff is incredibly important. But the only metric that the homeowner cares about is, I was promised no heating bill, no electric bill. Is that truly happening? And so in this particular home that is not lived in full time, we're about 3 times the production to the usage.
Wow.
We're about, so you
again.
might say, oh, well, those people don't live there all the time. So that's an outlier case, right?
Right.
Well, if you look out here and you look out to some of those homes in that back area there, there's one particular home back there. And I'll just say her first name. I don't know if she wants her full name on the internet. Sue. Sue lives in that home, obviously full time, but she also works there. That's her home office. And she is producing 3 times more energy than is using. Now, the average through the whole development is about 1.5, about 150% overproduction. But even that is by any metric is astounding. The 3X is kind of anomalous, but to actually have it a couple places in the development, I think is noteworthy. So that means, on a daily basis, like today, we might be barely breaking even, right? The heat pump's running. I'm using the Wi-Fi. Some lights are on, but it's fairly overcast right now. So we're probably breaking even, but we overproduce so much in the summer that they have so much credit built up, and that's the fundamentals of net metering.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any battery storage on site, backup power, like a backup generator facility type thing for these homes?
So we don't, and that was a decision here because we're right in downtown Geneva, so we're on the lake, but we're really right in the middle of downtown. Sure. And electrical outage is exceedingly rare in the downtown area, just because most of the utilities are underground, and because as a downtown core, if you do have an outage, it's obviously going to be a priority for the power to meter storage. So we chose to not add battery backup in this development. However, the way the homes are designed, they are all grouped together with all of the meters in one location. And so what that allows us to do is later on, if the homeowners want to come together and together buy a common battery bank, that common battery bank with battery inverters will be compatible with the Sunny Boy systems that are in our homes. It'll actually tell this inverter right here to turn back on, even though the grid's out, because it thinks it has grid power. Right. And that's a very interesting way of doing battery backup in a dense development, because rather than every home spending $20,000 on battery technology, we could do a $80,000 or $90,000 battery bank for 17 homes. Wow. So, and now that said, where we see a lot of demand is in our units to be standalone units. It's by far our biggest demand. People wanting to put them either on some land in the mountains or in a backyard for maybe a parent that they're pulling out of a nursing home, something like that. Right. And in those situations, we are actually shipping by default with batteries in our next generation.
Love it. Love it. How about we hop back into some more questions?
Yeah.
Right. See, I told you to go fast, Ryan. We're at 51 minutes, man.
That's great.
You're doing awesome. I'm telling you. I think
the world wants more.
There's a new career for you. All right. So I think we already answered this with the bathroom underneath, but Greg Ugaldi was asking option for open staircase. Pull your camera down just a little bit if you don't mind. There you go.
Yeah, you bet. So I was going to pull back around the staircase here. So we absolutely can, although I'll tell you, we are definitely moving more towards the accessory dwelling unit market. The two-story is, we are not a big enough modular builder to be doing, true multi-box custom construction. That's just, there's a lot of big players out there who can do that faster than us, who are using a true assembly process. So, to be frank with you, what we're moving towards is just the single level, single mod ADU or off-grid home.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. All right, Greg, I see Greg has some more comments down below. We will get to it. Give me 1 second here. Blake Gailey, happy to be here. Off-grid modular is a passion of mine to learn. Blake Gailey of Utah here from Sun Power. Right. Thanks for joining us. I love it. I love it. Bill Spone said, thanks for the shout out. We keep working down. All right, here we go. Blake's got questions for you, Ryan. So this is going to cover all of our faces. A few questions. One regarding solar, where there are challenges you overcame by installing your solar and battery solutions at the factory. 2, what battery solutions do you like best? And 3, do you have water production and storage solutions? Why don't we do the first 2 and then we'll come back to the other?
Yeah. So great question. So the first aspect of installing solar in the factory is mobilization. When I was a solar installer, you spent at least half of your management time and probably a third of your site time dealing with site conditions. That's moving, equipment to the right place, getting the crew to the right place, setting up ladders, setting up scaffolding, and getting safety harnesses and just the whole thing. And so you delete that right off the bat, and so you're operating from a controlled environment, and so when I did solar installation, I would say a good maybe even 20% of my cost was associated with site conditions. The second thing is when you're in a modular environment and you're designing the home, you can design it to accommodate solar right off the bat. And not just accommodate solar. There's a lot of companies that say, oh, we're going to build a home that's solar ready. Well, that's pretty easy. You're beefing up the trusses a little bit for a few extra pounds per square foot. Maybe you're running some metal conduit up to the roof. But what I mean by solar, really designing for solar, is you are designing the roof to be really fast and efficient to install solar on. 2, to protect that solar array over time, and 3 is to really make it. My brain's dropping out here a bit, but really making it efficient for the installers to actually do the most number of panels and brackets per hour of work on the site. And getting this, our roof systems, and it can be gable or flat roof, but really designing those roof systems to be really efficient and sized to the particular panel. So the crew, it's just one more step in the roofing process. I talked so much, I forgot the second part of that question.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, obviously you're looking to get into more of the ADU market where it's all self-contained, right? It's one. Yes. Unit.
And that's I'm sorry.
No, go on.
So that was a huge part of what we learned. Maybe, one of Dave's questions from earlier was, what was that? What was one of those aha moments or those, or maybe darn it moments during the process? For me, it was, we were building 4 of these modules to build this one, set of townhomes here. And I can tell you which one it was. I was in this one over next door here, that green one, and we had 3 in the factory, and we had that one sitting outside. Well, the solar's installed on the roof, the heat pump was installed, and so I said, you know what, this is silly. We're sitting here. I'm about to run power out to this thing to keep it from freezing so that the new drywall doesn't get damaged. And why don't I just fire it up? Why don't I just get the solar running? So I hooked up a little inverter and hooked it up to the solar that was on the roof, and hooked up an outlet with a tiny little battery, and got the heat pump working. And I walked back in it the next day, and it's 68 degrees in there, and there's a big hole in the floor where the stairs go. And to put in perspective, it was 19 degrees that night outside. So one, that tells you the power of the SIPs.
Right.
And 2, it was just kind of this aha moment that, wait a minute, we've got this home sitting right here. And if this was the home, there's no reason it couldn't be self-sufficient sitting here on our lot, sitting on the factory to the site, and certainly sitting at the site. And so that was, our aha moment. So from now on, everything we ship will be fully operational as soon as it leaves the factory.
So it seems like that answers the rest of Blake's question, which are these truly off the grid?
So all of our next generation it's designed. It's what they call a DC coupled system, which is my background doing solar. That was some of my most passionate projects, was doing these off-grid systems miles and miles from the utility. And that's what we really want to be. These, the image that you all used in the beginning here of our new solar pod product, that is our future. And it's a niche market, but it's a rather large niche, as people are moving some of their loved ones out of nursing homes and or just trying to monetize their property better by having an ADU structure. One of the biggest complaints that we get is from people looking to do ADUs is how I manage the utilities. And there still, can be utility work, but there also doesn't have to be. And to answer one of those questions in there too, our next gen model is doing rainwater capture, has a 100-gallon reserve potable tank, and filtration unit. And that's not meant to, really be enough to live off of full time, depending on your location. But it does, again, get you a fully functioning home that right off the bat. And then, if you add utility connection to that, you're obviously adding more daily capacity.
Sure.
Love it. Well, listen, we're just about an hour, and I want to speed round through some of these last questions here. There's so much more to unpack. I want to talk to you about settling issues. I got all this stuff that I want to learn about SIPs, right? Because not a lot of people are doing this, Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, it is a little bit of a throwback, because we had Steve Glenn on our show when we first started, and with Plant Prefab, they're doing this hybrid approach as well. And there's such an amazing industry leader. It's great to see that we have it on both coasts.
Yeah, we're a big follower of Plant Prefab and our social media. Where that's my wife says, "Go to bed already." I say, "Hold on, I'm scrolling through my Instagram."
Yeah, I know they do a great job.
Love it. All right, let's get through some of these other comments and questions. Greg Ugaldi says, "Very impressive. Thought build 2 boxes at a time with the third bay for the extras and specialty items on each floor."
That would have been smarter.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man. Greg is quick, huh?
All right. Yeah.
Sharp as a tack, this guy. All right, here we go. Hello from Alberta. Apologies if this was answered earlier. Have you been able to bid on traditional structures and been able to convert them over to modular SIPs build, or do you have to get in at the design stage and influence there? Do you tie into the existing power grid to allow resale of surplus, or is it completely off grid?
So to answer the first question, there's certainly a market for, semi-custom and custom homes. However, I feel strongly that we still are deep in a housing crisis that is not going to be solved through custom and semi-custom. It's going to be solved through a better look at high quality production building. And I think that that's really important. That's what we focus on is, how can we get in our niche, get more units out there that are, quality SIP construction, but, self-sufficient. And getting into the second question there, we are grid connected here, and all of our next generation models can be either grid connected or not. So they're designed to literally plug right into the grid or not be.
Yeah, for sure. All right, perfect. Thank you. Who was that LinkedIn user? Scott B, it looks like. He's not showing up on our system over here. All right, thanks, Scott, for the comment. Charles Warfield, great thing about building in a factory is that you have a controlled environment where you can continue to analyze and improve.
Absolutely. Yep. So, we're not without fault. We've gone through our process and, gotten the homes to site and found, that QA missed an interior wall that was out of plumb and it needed to get fixed. Nothing major, thankfully. We also, found that, we had refined QA processes on our, a lot of our mechanical electrical systems. We are doing all of that with our crew. We're not subcontracting really anything. And, that has to do with the core and the home itself. And so, that having that controlled environment is not just keeping the weather off your head. It's having, big, LED screens around the factory, showing job assignments, showing next tasks, showing, critical QA checks that have to be checked off. And those are kind of things that, you definitely can do in a controlled environment.
Great question. Thanks for the answer on that. I'm not sure who this is. AJ Rao looks like. Does anyone in the village own EVs? If so, curious on impacts on the energy equation.
I'm glad you asked. So I do. So we actually have a number of residents, including John Gorman, who owns this unit. He has a Chevy Bolt. I have a little Chevy Spark there, and depending, obviously it depends on how much energy or how much driving you're doing. But we do ask that early in the process that, do they now or are they anticipating having an EV? And you do have to factor in that consumption. I will tell you though that that little Spark there, it's only meant for commuting around town. But I charge it almost exclusively from a little off-grid solar charging station at my home that doesn't even touch the grid. So I probably count on one hand the number of times that grid power has actually touched that vehicle. It's been almost exclusively solar powered since I bought it, and that is absolutely doable within our energy budget on these homes.
Awesome.
Terrific.
All right, we got 2 more comments. Jennifer.
All right, Charles Warfield. The off-grid aspect is very compelling. Good job. What a great product.
Thank you.
I happen to agree with you, Charles.
Yeah, and our next, again, is another comment from Greg. And just so you know, Greg will be on our show Monday, November
the 30th.
So you can tune in for that one. But a tiny home concept utilizing your single module off the grid concept with a few bells and whistles for approximately $75,000 will be a winner.
How about 85? We do 85.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're all after, right? Is how do we create these high performance homes that are not only attainable, but affordable?
Well, and he's hit right on it. That's the kind of, I'm sorry, please continue.
No, but I mean, you need to stay in business too.
Yeah.
Well, but what he's talking about is that growth through lean manufacturing. I mean, if we can do that solar pod delivered in the Northeast for $99,000 right now. That's the 400 square foot, self-contained with water catchment filtration. There's no reason we can't get that to 75 through better manufacturing process. And that's really the value of the potential of modular building is you can take, a small manufacturer like us and see, okay, where can we build in efficiencies that just wouldn't be possible to find on site.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, we're actually talking about that exact topic tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern with Lars Wickholm from Wixpers Technology, where it's all about the factory of the future. How do you bring automation into the modular volumetric factories for housing affordability?
Well, and I'll tell you, I need to also give some credit to Vermont Energy Investment Corporation and NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority. These organizations are supporting us in that effort. It's VEIC came out with a great kind of like solar home factory for dummies product that is out there. It's just it's a little simple guide. I found it 2 months after we built our factory. How much that was painful to find. But it was great to see a lot of their information that reinforced what we had learned the hard way. Right. But also, it's great to have these organizations and like the folks you're talking to tomorrow out there trying to, push the industry forward it's helped us already. And, we definitely need to give big thanks to them. And one last thing I can't leave out is our lending institution here, Lions National Bank, a quote, little local bank. They're not so little anymore, but it really takes a financial institution who's willing to look at us and say, you're crazy. You don't know what you're doing, but we're going to trust you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rare in a financial institution. And the truth of the matter is there's risk in that scenario. But, I feel like we executed and honored that risk. And that's something we got to give credit to, because, we can all sit here and I feel badly when I don't respond to a lot of people in the industry reaching out, and it's not, for any other reason than we're just drinking from the fire hose. But that will only get us so far. The financial institutions have to go to that next step and say, okay, the industry is maturing, and there's some real data here, and there's some real demand, and we're going to support that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of collaboration, and again, sharing your message. It is the network of investors who need to hear this message and see these success stories and hear the client testimonials and the proven demand for this product. It's other developers who are looking for creative ways to develop on land like tight lots that you're describing there, that used to be a parking lot. We all have to come together with these creative solutions, with the building science, with the offsite modular construction. I mean, these are all parts of the puzzle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Couldn't agree more.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us, man. You pushed the limit. We're at an hour and 10 minutes. And like I said, I could go a lot further. There's one more shout out here, actually. Hello, everyone from Atlanta, Georgia. Abdullahi Ali, if I got that right, I hope. Oh, and Greg did say 85,000 will work.
All right. Sold, Greg. I'll put you down for one.
All right.
I love it. All right, everybody. Greg will be on our show on Monday, the 30th, for an expert interview and an update straight from the top of the NAHB. It's always great having Greg on, telling us what's happening at a very high level for our industry. Also, tomorrow, like we said, Lars Everett Wixfer is on. This is going to be a great show, because we're going to be talking about automation. How do factories move into the future, or how do you build a factory that is into the future? So that's going to be a lot of fun. Thursday, we're just going to be hanging out, drinking online live. If anybody wants to join us, there's really nothing special going on other than us having a drink or two live. And then Friday, another BS Friday. So make sure you join us for Mark, Bare Naked Willie, and I, as we, who are we hosting this Friday? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, it's the two of you, I think, sharing all.
It is. We're going to do the best of. You're right.
So yeah, Ryan, you can dial in and rattle their chain.
That's right. Let us know what we're not doing. So
don't worry, I'll drop in for maybe the drinking session too.
Yeah, Thursday at 1:00 we will be drinking, and hopefully we'll have one or two in us before we get on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, everybody. What do you think, Jen? Take us out.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Wishing you all a wonderful and full of gratitude Thanksgiving. Little different this year, but certainly grateful for all of you, part of this community, and looking forward to bringing you other great conversations with other informative guests like Ryan Wallace. Thanks again, Ryan.
Well, Dave and Jennifer, thank you so much for putting this together. It really does a huge service to little firms like ours and the industry as a whole. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. This was a pleasure. Hang tight. We'll come back to you right after the outro. Everybody else, join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. We'll see you then. Bye now.